Hi Room 22, Miss Lucy here. So I'm back with another story. We've had a little bit of an introduction to it, but I thought we would start it again and keep reading it all the way till we get back to school. So hopefully that will be next week. So last week I set the task for you to draw what you think the world's worst teacher would look like. Now, I was very thankful because I wasn't in there, thankfully, because I was a little bit worried. And I had some amazing work come through. Some people saying that they had a bad maths teacher, or that their teacher used to have horrible punishments for them. So it's quite interesting to read, and thank you so much for sending that through. So we're going to get started on The World's Worst Teacher by David Williams. So let's get started. Now I know we've read this before, but I think we need a bit of a recap because it was a little bit of a long time ago that we did start to read this. So now I'm really excited about this story because it has some fantastic illustrations all through the book. And the author, he has some fantastic ideas. So these are all the teachers we will be reading about that he has written about. I wonder if they're his teachers that he had when he was a child. Alright, so we're going to start with Mr. Pence Balls. He's got some funny looking pants there, don't you think? Mr. Pence Balls. Once upon a time's table, there was a maths teacher named Mr. Pent. He certainly looked like a textbook maths teacher with his wire-rimmed glasses, brown suit and comb-over, so he had his hair combed over. However, Mr. Pent was anything but your average maths teacher. Oh no, he was one of the world's very worst teachers. That was because Mr. Pent's every waking moment was taken up with one dark obsession: balls. He had a deep loathing of them. But where did this strange fixation with spherical objects come from? Oh, I like that word, spherical. We're going to be learning about spheres this week for our geometry. Our story begins when Mr. Pent was still a child. It is easy to forget that teachers were once children, but in most cases they were. Some babies you knew immediately were destined to be teachers because they were born with teacherly scowl of disapproval on their face. Can you see the picture? That's a normal baby, and then a teacher baby. I wonder if you think Miss Lucy was once a child. As soon as he was put in his cot, baby Pent was counting the beads above his head. Soon he was writing complex mathematical equations on the wall with his alphabety spaghetti. It was when, as a toddler, he began giving his parents algebra homework that they knew for sure their little boy was destined to be a maths teacher. One day, when Master Pent was just 10 years old, he suffered a terrible accident. The boy was struck on the head by a ball. Not just any ball, a demolition ball. As balls go, there has to be one of the biggest and heaviest there is. After all, it is made of steel and swung from a crane to destroy buildings. Bish, bash, bosh. I really like how the author has used alliteration. There. They all start with the letter B. Being a child whose fate it was to become a maths teacher, it will not surprise you to learn that Master Pent had no time for toys or games or anything that might be confused for fun. No, this mathematics-loving child filled his days with times tables, prime numbers, fractions, quadratic equations, trigonometry, and for most of us normal folk, the absolutely dreadful long division. One rainy afternoon, Master Pent was on his way home from his school maths club. Maths club was the world's most boring after-school club. Master Pent was, in fact, the only member. Other strong contenders for the world's most boring after-school club were Punctuation Club, Standing in a Puddle Society, Basket Weaving for Beginners, Train Spotters Anonymous, Sitting in the Dark Society, Staring at the Blank Wall Club, Traffic Cone Appreciation Society, Latin. In Maths Club, Master Pent had just been learning all about pi, also known as pi or 3.14. Pi is even more boring than it sounds, and it sounds cataclysmically. Wow, what an excellent wow word. Cataclysmically means absolutely awful. Boring. It is a mathematical constant, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Are you asleep yet? Zzz. If so, then good night. If not, read on. When Master Pent spotted a huge steel ball, he was eager to put to the test this whole circumference diameter nonsense. As he fumbled in his pencil case for his ruler, he failed to see that this huge steel ball was in fact swinging straight towards him and at speed. Whoosh! It was meant to destroy an old block of flats that was standing right behind him. Instead, it struck the boy on the head, hard, really hard. Master Pent was knocked out cold. That was just as well as the ball battered him into the air. Whoosh! He flew, interestingly enough, exactly 3.4 miles before smashing through the roof of a shed in the back garden. Smash! Crunch! Master Pent didn't wake up until a whole week later. He discovered he was in hospital with an incredibly sore bandaged head. Ouch! He yelped. My head hurts. The boy had to keep the bandage on for 6 whole months and looked as if he were wearing a nappy on his head. Ha ha ha, nappy boy, laughed the other kids. Ever since the fateful day of his accident, Pent detested balls of any kind. The sight of anything round was enough to bring back terrible memories of that great big steel ball. Clonk! So when he grew up and became a maths teacher, Mr. Pent was dismayed to find that in St. Aub's school, where he taught, there were balls, and more balls, each one reminding him of the worst day of his life. Balls here, balls there, balls everywhere. In the playground, footballs, tennis balls, and even ping pong balls would bounce at him from every angle. Boing, boing, boing. On spotting one, his eyes would all but pop out of their sockets. His face would go a shade of purple. His glasses would steam up and his comb-over would stick up on end. Balls! Mr. Pent would shout as he foamed at the mouth. The teacher's hatred was so great that he stuck warning signs up all over St. Aub's. On every wall, door, and window, he even stuck one to the dinner lady's bottom. No balls permitted on school premises. No balls allowed in the playground. No balls whatsoever within 100-mile radius of the school. This last rule was hard to enforce, even if, being a maths teacher, he knew exactly what that 100-mile radius covered on a map, using his compass and ruler, of course. I think that's the lunch lady over here. Alright, I'm going to stop there.